Today we're transferring my Monstera deliciosa propagations from sphagnum moss into soil. Hey guys, it's Olivia from Life of Roselle. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're transferring these propagations into soil. But before we start, I kind of wanted to go over sphagnum moss because I know that there's a lot of debate over whether it's safe for the environment, for the ecosystem. I was hesitant about propagating my plants into moss before I started, and I couldn't really find a lot of information about it. But I eventually had to DIY my moss pole from my Monstera deliciosa over here that we took all these propagations from. After that, propagations that we had in water, they just weren't really growing. So I put them in the moss and they just grew roots like crazy. So I was like, well, obviously there's something in the moss that's not in the water, so let me look into it. So what I found is that there is a difference between sphagnum moss and sphagnum peat moss. Peat moss is what we typically put plants in just for potting them. The natural element that a lot of people like to include in there because it holds moisture. The difference between sphagnum moss and sphagnum peat moss. Sphagnum moss is harvested when the plant is still alive in the bog, which is basically just a wetland of moss. So it's harvested when it's alive, rather the sphagnum peat moss is harvested when it's the decaying matter underneath all of the actual sphagnum moss. So it's technically already dead when it's harvested, which is why there's so much of a debate over whether it's okay for the ecosystem or not. But in the plant community, we know that sphagnum moss is a medium that we use to pot things, to propagate things, to grow things, to build moss poles, to do a lot of things for the plants. There are a lot of benefits that sphagnum moss has, like they have calcium, magnesium, and potassium in it, so it's very nutrient rich and it holds a lot of moisture. So I don't have to keep it as wet as I would if I was soil propagating, and that just helps me a lot to not forget about the plant. And it also increases the humidity, which you can kind of tell on this pot too. There's a lot of moisture in there, so it helps the roots grow a lot better. So whether you use moss to propagate, that's up to you and what you believe, and that's totally okay. I try to use moss sparingly, only when I have to, only as much as I need. That way I'm not wasteful about it. So with that, let's get transferring these into soil. All right, so this is the first propagation. Oh my goodness. To take off some of the soil for you guys. Holy crap. It was like attached. So the roots started to like take shape of the little container. It's really cool. But all of this moss is like stuck on the roots. So I have to take all of that off before we can actually transplant it. I have to take it off before we can put it in soil. These are really attached, and I don't want to break it because they're so long. All right, so I'm gonna go try and spray off as much moss as I can outside with the hose, and then I'll meet you guys back here. All right, so this is the second propagation. There is 3 that we did take from this big Monstera. Same thing, I'm just gonna try and go spray it all out once I dump some of this extra out, and then see what we got. Propagation number 3. So we did start to water propagate all 3 of these sometime in February, and it took a couple weeks of them just not growing roots before we did put them in the moss. And then like a week later, we saw a bunch of little tiny ones. So we left them in there for 2, 3, 4 more weeks and they grew these gigantic roots. Just 2 weeks ago, I put this bag with moss inside of it and tied it up, and I've kept it really moist in there. And I just wanna like untie it with you guys and show you like how much this works. It's only been a few weeks and I am blown away by how fast this grows. I'm gonna need scissors. If you guys are wondering why we have strings on this, like the top of this one, it's so that people wouldn't run into the plant and break it, because that's what happened to a few of the other ones. Voila! It's not a lot, and I'm sure if we grew it for a few more weeks, it would be huge, but for a few weeks, like that's pretty crazy. So again, this was only for like a week or two, and I'm sure if we had left it in there for longer, it would have grown so much longer and we could have put that part in the soil as well. But I'm just blown away by how long that thing grew just by putting it in moss wrapped around a bag. So I'm gonna take this moss out, spray it down as much as I can, and then we'll meet back and repot all 3. So we ran out of bigger pots that would actually fit all of the roots in one pot. So I had to run to Home Depot before they closed. I had to get a 14-inch pot and a 12-inch pot. Let me go get them really quick. 14-inch, 12-inch. I'm not gonna put that in there. My plan is to put the smaller one in the 12-inch pot because the roots are pretty big, but they also need some room to like still spread out and grow, and you know. So I did that for the 12-inch. For the 14-inch, we're gonna put the 2 other propagations into one. Yeah, that's my plan. I have these little saucers so we can water it, and let's get to it. First pot, I'm gonna put perlite in there because we're gonna need some drainage. So I picked up some perlite. This is actually just red. I filled 2 pots, so might as well just fill this up all the way. Yo, why is it so heavy? A whole workout. Okay, yo, why is it wet? I don't know about that. Yo, it really smells like poop. Okay, so instead we're gonna bring out my other soil, and hopefully that doesn't smell quite as much like poop as this one does. Okay. God dang. Adding some perlite at the bottom, and then I'm just gonna take my hands and mix it up. I think that'll go a lot smoother. So I'm just gonna see how much soil I need. Look at those roots, holy crap. I tried to get as much moss off as I could, but in order to save all the little babies, I kind of had to deal with it. I'm gonna put a few more inches of soil and then fill it all in. For height, I typically will keep mine a little bit below this rim right here so that when I water it, water doesn't overflow. But I still want this roots to sit a little bit more up, so I'll probably fill in a few more inches. That way it's about right here, and then a few inches of soil on the top. All right, so he's in, and now I am just filling in the top couple inches of soil. Trying to make this top layer even, maybe not so compressed either. Over the next few weeks, you want to keep the soil very moist so that it's an easier transition from moss, which stays very moist. I think that one's good. Now, maybe just add a little bit more. There's number 1. So once again, we're putting the 2 propagations that we have over here into this one pot. Since it is a bigger pot, I'm just gonna go ahead and use this as my scoop. For my potting soil, I'm just using a store-bought one, and I'm just adding an extra perlite to it so that it does hold moisture, but at the same time it is well draining. All right, let's see how these roots look. I think that is a good height. All right, how do I want to set these up? Look at how freaking long those are. Those are crazy. Before I start, I'm gonna cut off this little stem because it's just not doing anything. There's no leaf on it anymore. And it's just gonna take up extra energy from the plant. Can you hold this for a second so I can get the other soil? Just like right there. that is both of them in this pot. Honestly, I thought the pot was gonna be too big at first, but I think I got the perfect size for it. For the next couple weeks again, I'm just gonna keep the soil really moist and watch how the leaves respond, if they start turning yellow, if they start turning brown, anything like that, and I'll make adjustments as I need to. I've never actually done this before, so it's a first, and I'm excited. Thank you guys so much for watching my video. Let me know in the comments down below what propagation methods work best for you and what all you've done to propagate your plants, what plants you've propagated. With that, subscribe, comment down below, give the video a thumbs up, and let me know what other videos you guys want to see. We would love to make more. Follow us on Instagram at Life of Roselle. We'll have all the links down below. And also all of the article links that I found, the facts for the sphagnum moss, I'll link those down below too. With that, have a good night, have a good day, rest of your week, and see you guys soon. Peace. Bye.